Hello and welcome.
Welcome everybody.
You are CEO Pre-Show.
All right now.
Tonight is going to be a big night.
Big night.
I think this is going to be probably our, well, we probably might be a little biased, but this is going to be one of our best shows ever.
Yes.
Tonight we're going to be talking about, well, this is on the show that's coming up. So we're going to be talking about your health is your true wealth. Right? So before we get started, because Jacoby and I are going to talk about this a little bit, but before we get started, we'd like to welcome everyone that is across the country streaming in now. Thank you so much for joining us.
Everybody out there, see you all virtually.
In TV land.
Yeah, in TV land. Yeah.
So before we get started, it's our customary things. Be sure that you are ready to take some good notes, because tonight talking about health, this is a big, big subject matter that everyone talks about kind of around this time of the year when the year gets started. Everyone's probably focusing on our health, but what we're going to be talking about later on is a lifestyle of true health, right? So you want to be sure to have your notepad ready, have your strong connection, everything that you need. If you're commuting, be sure to get to your destination because we want you to be safe. So while we're doing that, while everyone's kind of traveling, Jacoby, your health is your true wealth. What does that make, when you hear that statement, what does that make you think about?
Well, it makes me think about what you value. So some people value money.
Sure.
They correlate wealth with money.
Yeah.
Some people that have a lot of money correlate wealth with time. So I think at the end of your days, you want more time.
Always, yes.
And not necessarily more money. And then when you have physical illnesses, you can do nothing about that with your money or your time.
That's true.
So thinking of wealth as more your health being your wealth as an investment today, kind of foreseeing, things in the future, I think it's very important to look at health differently.
Yes.
It's an investment, right? You're trying to invest in your future.
I really like what you're saying, because in order to do that, to have a proper investment, if we stay along that line, you have to kind of do some research, know some history before you do some investing. So you want to know some things in your background, right, to understand your health that's in your family, right, and then make some adjustments and some changes, because I really like that. It's true wealth to have a healthy your physical appearance to be healthy, but actually your mental as well, because what you can do when you have those two elements, your physical being and then your mental being, it allows you to be able to accomplish the things that you set out for. You talked about values. You want to say a little about that?
I think about, if you do some research on J.D. Rockefeller, he actually was one of the most wealthy men that ever existed. And I believe he was responsible for some of the Industrial Revolution. And if you research him, he actually, when it was time for him to die or near death, money wasn't as important. I think he had a condition where he couldn't eat like he wanted to, and so the simple things in life were more important. Although he had everything that everyone could ever desire, he started to realize that life was more than just money. He felt that his health was more important.
Wow, that's
pretty
really
interesting.
Good.
So your values change as you learn, and your body changes. Like, wait a second here. Your values begin to become different depending on the type of mindset you have. I
really like that, because like you said, at the end of a person's days, or you don't have to really, hopefully get to that point to make a shift to what you're saying about when your values change. You could be a person in business or getting their business started. Of course, you're here at URCO. We talk about your career, your life, and your business. So in order to be an entrepreneur, even a strong parent, a business person, a businesswoman, you really want to have your mental fitness strong, as well as your physical fitness strong, in order to be able to get you through your day, the pressures of life. I think we had a show on, we talked about some of those pressures. Financial management, we talked about that. So when the finances kind of shift, when you're starting your business, you want to be able to mentally be able to sustain those kind of times.
And it's like, when you think of, when we say your health is your wealth, or your health is true wealth. Every time you pick up a plate to eat something, right, that's an investment. Or every time you go to the grocery store, investment. Open the fridge, investment.
I like it.
Right, and in business, you want an ROI, which is a return on your investment, right? You like? Let's use an analogy.
This is great. That's great.
Just trying to get you all ready, because tonight's gonna be great.
Tonight's gonna be great.
So just things like that.
No, I like it. I like it. So if anyone that's online, hello, thanks so much for joining us. If you have any comments, any questions about what you all think is health is your true wealth. What does that mean when you hear that statement? So if you want to put it in the comment string, be sure to go ahead and chime in, and we're gonna. I'm sure that we'll get some, someone online to kind of get that to you.
Yeah.
And be sure to share.
Share. Yes.
So I think there's a couple of ways you can share.
Okay.
You want to talk about what?
Yeah, like you can actually share on Facebook, like to your feed, but you can also share within your direct messages too. So you all did a great job last week. We noticed a big spike in new viewers because you all started sharing more. So that's really helpful for our team and helpful for the movement itself.
The movement itself, absolutely. So you want to share, and I think Jacoby and we were talking about this last week. Share with all of those, your gym trainer.
Yeah.
Your banker, parents that, you're in PTA with or whoever, right? Just share. So all you do is, if you're on Facebook now, or even if you're on YouTube, because we are streaming on YouTube as well, you just click that share button and then go ahead and share it with everyone that's in your network.
Yeah. And then make sure you look for those connections that need the information. So you made a good example, like your trainer. They probably have other people they want to share this information with. So we're unlocking the door on what is true wealth. And we know that our health is important, and every day we must consider it.
So I think we should get ready for the show tonight.
Okay.
I think we're all set. So stay tuned. True wealth.
Your health is true wealth. Get ready.
Got to manage myself. Got to manage my mind. The task is not easy, but to high heights I climb. I'm determined to succeed, so no excuses, please. If you don't want success in life, then don't hinder me. Yes, let the whole world know you are a CEO. You are a CEO. I'm a CEO. You are a CEO. I'm a CEO. The time is here to celebrate. You are a CEO. You are a CEO. You are a CEO. You are a CEO. Yes, let the whole world know. The time is here to celebrate. Success is calling, so don't be late. You are a CEO.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another CEO TV Live episode. I'm here with Miss Charlene Caruso and Megan Tomasello. Welcome back, by the way. My name is Terry Fulton, and we are going to be talking about some wonderful things tonight. The boss is back in the office. He's taking up the show, and he's going to be talking about health is your true wealth.
So excited.
Yeah, he's a rhymer. He rhymes. He rhymes.
A poet and you know it.
Yeah, and we're going to have Miss Elizabeth Mancuso here tonight. Really happy to have her. And then
exciting.
Maya Parker is going to be here as well. And so this is going to be a great show. You want to make sure that you stay tuned.
I'm very excited.
But let's do some fun stuff. Let's do some fun stuff.
We love fun stuff.
So as you know, we've been trying to talk to you all about what's going on in the community, and we promised you that you were going to get the Life Rhythm tool. And it's coming. I know we're just a smidge behind, but it's coming. So we're going to make sure that you all get this tool. We're going to be putting it inside of the club, and so you'll be able to get to it when you access the club, and we'll make that announcement. So can't wait. Have y'all got the tool? Y'all got the tool? Y'all good?
We're waiting on it.
You create Life Rhythm?
I'm waiting on the tool.
Hurry up and
but
give them the
creating
tool,
Life
Terry.
Yeah. So the tool is coming, so we'll make an announcement. The next area we want to talk about, Charlene, the T-shirts ends February 27th.
The countdown is on.
Look at how many days are left.
There are what?
9 days.
9 days left.
9 days left.
9 days.
Hurry
and I'm
up and
telling
get your
y'all,
shirt.
when I wear my shirt and my sweatshirt, please do not try to take it.
Don't get jealous of us.
Yes.
Join us.
Yes,
Order
join
your
us.
shirt.
So
Yeah.
order,
9 days.
order.
Yeah,
yes.
we're getting ours. Gotten ours.
And it's a great
So-
tool when you're getting out there and you're
That's
talking
right.
with people. It's
critical
It's a conversation
to open
starter.
the door.
So
for
that just happened with
conversation.
us. So
Oh yeah, it did at the gym.
Oh, y'all at the gym, somebody's like, what do you as CEO? That's
yeah, they did.
They were
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
you were CEO of what? So we said of our life.
Yeah.
Of our lives. That is great. Of our
No, and then the
lives.
guy was like, well, I am a CEO.
He's like, I'm the CEO of the club. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Well,
So
it was interesting.
It
Yeah.
is a great tool, but it's not a good tool if you ain't got one. So 9
have to
days
have
left.
one.
9 days.
9 days
Get
left.
it, get it.
So let's talk about some activity that's going on inside of Uplift. All right, so there's 3 posts that we want to bring your attention to. So can we make this like real? So Darren Womack is always involved in the product. He posted very thankful for the Uplift platform, and so that was awesome. And he always does these creative pictures, right?
Yeah.
And then you have Chuck Kelly, faithful as can be, with this crew there,
Yes.
exercising. Miss Pam has her URCO shirt on as well.
Nice. That's
Right?
a nice shot.
And then Sonia
Yeah.
Warren, she's one of my heroes. She's faithful in the product as
Very,
well, working out,
very.
and everything that she's been through is just awesome.
Yep.
So hats off to all of those living in this world of Uplift.
Uplift.
Awesome.
I like Sonia's stats that she posted for her workouts.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. It keeps everybody accountable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it does.
yeah, I gotta go get
Hold
to my own
yourself
gym.
accountable,
That's
too.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Work out with me.
Oh, shout out to the
Join
showroom.
the showroom.
That's
Join
my
the showroom.
That's
Tag
right.
the showroom.
That's
Which
right.
I tag often.
Yeah, awesome. That's it. So let's look at the post of the week. So there's this person who haven't posted in a while. And we know him as Carrie Paul, but it's really Carrie Paul Dickens,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And so she doesn't post that much, but she got inside of the Facebook group and she posted, hey, worked out for the first time in a while tonight, felt great. Don't usually post things like this, but I decided to put it out there in the world to hold myself accountable. So let's give it up for Carrie Paul Dickens. She's holding us accountable as well.
She is.
Good job.
She
Yeah.
is.
So that's the post of the week inside of the Facebook group.
Awesome.
But there are also different people that have been, we've been doing the top 5. Do y'all think
Yes,
the
I
top?
love
Yeah.
that. I
Do-
really like that.
Do you think it shifted? Top 5 in February. Do you think it shifted?
I would
I've
like to
seen
say
the
it
same
shifted.
people, but I'm
Different
not
order?
sure.
Same people,
yeah,
different
in
order?
a different order.
Mhm.
1 through 5 kind of shifts, but I see the same top performers, which is awesome.
Awesome. So let's look at it. Top 5 performers in February to this point. Sylvia, Daniel, Sophie, Latrice, and Nicole.
They're doing
So
it.
Let's clap it up for them. So they are super duper faithful,
Yes.
and they're doing a really good job. Now, last week we had the top 5, and Latrice was at the top, and I love her yoga pictures with the little kitties doing yoga. That is like the best thing
Coco
ever.
yoga.
Little kitties.
But we had a different top performer in terms of the affiliates, and so we have the top performer again. Who do y'all think it is? Come on now, guess with me, guess with me, guess with me.
Okay,
Sylvia?
affiliate Sylvia, Sophia, Daniel.
Sylvia for the 3rd week in a row. She's all over the world too, posting.
She is.
She is.
So she
State
does
to
a really
state.
good job, state to state, always wearing
Yeah.
a shirt.
That's
And she's
great.
been doing videos recently, which have been amazing.
I know. You see
so.
her doing that heavy bag on that? That's
Yeah,
nice.
and posting
With the
people
kick,
that she's
yeah.
meeting and talking to about yours.
Yeah.
She's been a
Yeah.
great example, a great example. And to
Absolutely.
help with the affiliates, Mr. Mark Lee Parker, he actually did a video last week for the affiliates, how to spread the message
Right.
as an affiliate. So
Oh, that was great.
That was a really
awesome.
good video.
So you can go to our Facebook group and
And
see
part of that was
Awesome.
wearing the URCO T-shirt
Yes.
to open
Yeah.
up conversations.
And
so
he's faithful
9
wearing
days
his.
to order the
Yes.
new
He's
one.
faithful.
All the
with-
colors.
9
He has
days.
all the
9
colors.
9 days.
9 days.
9
Never
days.
before seen styles.
9 days. 9 days. All right. Just wanted to say that one more time. And then look at the club or the membership. It is increasing. We are up to 3,245 members and growing. So we want to make sure that everybody continues to spread the word, and then we continue to grow this community. So what are you all excited about, just really quick, like about tonight's show? Really quick.
Really quick.
Yeah,
We have
really
some
quick.
awesome
love-
guests,
yeah.
and I'm really
The guests
interested
are
to hear some of their insights about health. So I'm looking
Nice.
forward to the guest interviews.
Nice.
Yeah, and I don't know exactly what's going to be said, but I just love this topic in general. I'm really interested in, of course, how to be more healthy and just for everyone that I love so that they can watch it and also learn how to be healthy, because health is the true wealth. I mean,
Yeah,
if
it
you
is
lose
true.
your
Yeah.
health, it's a big hit to your family and everyone around you that you know, that you love. So keeping up with that is just so important, and I'm really glad that URCO is part of making an effort to spread that.
That's right. That's
so
right.
That's really important.
Good words to end on there and introduce the entire show. And it's a good platform to let you know that that's what's going on inside of URCO. And that's why the membership is growing, because we're talking about you running the business of you. And there are a lot of different aspects of who you are. So if you can discover the power of self, you can begin to take self in the right direction. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. There's going to be a short video, and Mr. Michael E. Parker will be back on the set to set the stage, talking about health is your true wealth. We'll be right back.
I'm Ellie from Bastyr University, and I will be discussing the difference between whole foods and processed foods. What's the difference between this and this? Although they are both made out of beets, this one is a whole food and this one is a processed food. Whole foods like this come straight out of the ground and never once see a package. In other words, there is no label because it's only one ingredient, beets. Processed foods, on the other hand, are modified and added to other ingredients like sugar and preservatives, and then packaged so that it can sit on the shelf for quite a while. It is possible to find processed foods with quality ingredients, but the whole food varieties are almost always healthier for you because they're alive. And not only that, you get to decide how to prepare the whole food and what other ingredients to add to it. Therefore, next time you go shopping, try to add 5 whole foods to your basket. That could be anything from a squash to an avocado. You could even grab an onion or a banana. Chances are, if you buy a whole food, it's alive, and that'll help you feel alive and vibrant yourself.
Hello everyone, Michael E. Parker here in studio at URCO, and this is the show that we've been talking about, what's coming about your health is your true wealth. And many of you may know that the word wealth, initially the root in that came from well. And we want to first be well, and being well is more important than money. And you'll find that out if you ever have a lot of money but then don't have your health. You'll see what really matters. And so we want to talk tonight and specifically honing in. And so this is the show we've been talking about, as you can see on your screen. It is February 18th, and this is show number 1 of this series. And we're going to have another part to this show, and we'll talk about that later. But tonight, we're going to focus on some specific things with regard to our health, and I want to jump right in. But I want to welcome you. Sit back. If you want to jot anything down or grab anything, do that now. But we're going to talk about some specific things related to health, only in a specific way that URCO does it. And you know we always look at things from the inside out and from a different angle and perspective. And so I want you to consider this about something that we all know is so important, which is our health. All right. So as you can see on the screen, we have when we think about health, there's 4 main areas that I want you to understand. When we think from URCO perspective, we think about being the CEO of our health, being the executive of our health, there's 4 things I want you to keep in mind. One is, what is hereditary? This is a critical element of our health. What runs in our family, what comes through genes, like no matter what we do, it runs in our family. We have to understand this, and we'll talk more about that, but this is critical. Another area is how we eat. So what we eat is a direct connection to our health, because we're actually sending instructions into our body, and we'll talk more about that. Another key area is sleep. This one is kind of, I don't want to, I need to change my ways on this. I need some more sleep. But sleep is critical. This is another area where the body begins to refuel. And even if you work out and you have fitness, but if you don't sleep, you won't get the fullness of those workouts. So we know sleep is really critical. Another element that I want to bring into this is the sun. Did you know we are all like plants? And we all need sun, but today more than ever before, we're indoors. We're on our phones, we're on the TV, we're looking at devices, and it was never meant for us to be this enclosed. We were meant to get some sun. Life is in the sun. It brings life to many things. As you all know, it gives vitamin D. And so these are critical elements that we all need to think about. But as you can, going back to this slide for a minute, I'm going to be focusing tonight a lot on the eating. We're going to talk about some of the hereditary as well, but we know eating is something we deal with every day, all the time, that dramatically impacts our health. We kind of know when we should be sleeping. We do need to get outside. Can't change much about what runs in our family, but we can be smarter, but eating is really critical. So I want to talk about this a little bit. Now, this is me. I was just on vacation. I got my Sam URCO shirt on. I was representing out in Hawaii. And so can you give me a full screen there? Look at the backdrop there. No, I want the full screen. Yes. That water back there relaxes me. And I'm out there flexing, feeling good. And the reason is because I've been over a year changing my eating habits. I've stayed committed. I'm almost getting toward 2 years, but a year and a half. And I am so happy that I've been able to stick with this. And so let me look at you for a minute and let me tell you something, that when you wake up one day and you realize you got to make a true change to how you eat, it is one of the most shocking things that can hit your life. And when I realized that I had to do that after going to a doctor's appointment and realizing that I didn't want to go down the path of other individuals or the path the doctors just seem to be okay with, it was just so awakening for me. And so I want to talk to you about why and what this really means and some of the things that I was able to do. Now, I call this eating style that's clean, because really you want to look to see what is clean that you're actually eating. Now, let me walk through some fundamental things about this. So, number one, a key assumption with this that's clean approach is that I believe that what God said in the Bible about eating is the optimal diet for good health. Now, this doesn't mean to be religious, but if you believe in God, believe God made the body, then that would be the right person to go to on what to put in it. And so this is the assumption behind this particular eating style. Now, going deeper into this, I love the quote that came out from a popular clinic. Every bite you take is either fighting disease or feeding it. And this is a really important quote. Now, going deeper into that, because remember, when we talk about this, we're not focusing on weight loss as much, we're focusing on good health. But what I found is when you focus on good health, you end up losing weight. So if you really do the things it takes to be more healthy, you will find that overall, most of the time, either you'll lose weight or gain weight if you've been doing things unhealthy that cause you not to have the proper weight. Now, let's go a little bit deeper into this. We are also talking about lifestyle above diet, because lifestyle is something sustainable. And I know there's a lot of diets out there, there's a lot of things that come and go, but lifestyle is critical. And so remember that when we talk about this, we're talking about a way of life. Now, another element, when you think about God-based eating, and I had a whole show about this and the power of no, so I'm not going to go into all of this, but these are some of the things you can keep in mind. Vegetables, plant-based things, clean meats like beef, turkey, chicken, lamb, things like that. Knowing what seafood is clean, and what specific grains and fruit. Eating more this way. Another element is the things that you need to stay away from, right? Refined sugar, artificial sweeteners, which we found, sometimes is worse than real sugar. So all these things that you see that are processed, preserved, genetically modified, getting away from those things that are deep fried. And so in our second show, we're going to learn about how you can replace these things in a more natural way and give you some tips about that. But tonight, just want to give you a little backdrop. Now, another element of this eating style is knowing how to snack, right? And so when I talked about this in the Power of No workshop, I went into some of these different things, from the organic pancake mix I use to different things that you can create. But there's the main point of this is to understand there's different ways to do things. And if you are creative, you can still, being healthy doesn't have to mean that something doesn't taste good and that something is expensive. There's a way to actually relook at how you do things to still have things that taste well well and make it affordable. And we're going to talk about that more in our second part of this show. All right. So I want to go a little bit further into this. Now, there are 4 enemies that I want you to know about. One is self-ignorance. Another one is fear. Another one is insecurity. And another one is mediocrity, okay? Being mediocre, not doing your best. Now, these 4 things are really the enemies of you, our CEO. These are the things that you, our CEO, attacks. This is what we want to overcome. This is what we want to tear down. These are the things that's in our way of being successful. And no matter how successful you are now, these are the things we want to remove to be more successful. So that is why you all know about the Success IQ. So the Success IQ, this is a distinct assessment that measures how you actually think about these particular areas to overcome those limits. So instead of being self-ignorant, how do we be self-aware? Instead of being insecure, how do we self-empower? So I'm not going to go into all of these, but I want you to be aware we're getting to the root of those things that are specific to the You Are CEO philosophy. So let's take each one of these and go deeper. Self-ignorance has to do with the lack of knowledge or information about oneself. So this is directly related to health. So we have to understand, we have to refuse to be self-ignorant. This means I'm allowing myself to be ignorant about something regarding my health. And there are many times in my life that I realized I was ignorant. I was ignorant about sugar. I was ignorant about how to eat properly. I was ignorant about the power of drinking water. And I didn't really care about it, and I didn't really know about it. But once you're informed, then you can actually do better. And this is, again, why this is so important. So when you think about self-ignorance, I want to remind you of things that we should be doing. So checking on our health. So depending on your risk factors, age, lifestyle, family history, your doctor may order a variety of blood tests. They might, want to screen you at an annual physical exam. This is where self-ignorance begins to stop, is when you wake up and say, I want to know what's going on with my body. I want to know what runs in my family, and I want to know what's happening now. This is really important. Now, let's go deeper. Now, if you do go get an exam, these are some of the things that you'll normally see being looked at. So there's your blood pressure, which measures the force of your blood against your arteries. Very important. And you can see the readings there that are considered normal. I'm not going to get really technical tonight, but I want you to see this is a critical area. Another critical area is cholesterol, which measures the amount of cholesterol in your blood, and you can see what is a healthy cholesterol. And those of you that are, deeper into this, know that there's different types of cholesterol, HDL, LDL, and all of that. But when you go and you get your physicals, you do what you're supposed to do, these are some of the things that you'll find out about, and you'll know where you are. Another critical area is your blood glucose level. All of this is removing my ignorance to understand where I'm at, measuring the amount of sugar that's in my blood, and you can begin to understand where you should be. And so you can see some of the tips built into these slides, but the point is, this is again about removing self-ignorance. And then there's osteoporosis. Now, those that are maybe up in age more, maybe starting at around 65, you might, when you get a physical, go a little step further, right? And really understand how you might be being impacted by this particular area. As you can see, depending on where you are, there's some things you might pay closer attention to. And also, if there's things that run in my family, for example, I might pay attention to more specific tests that really hone in on something that might point to something that's hereditary. So this is another example of that. Another key area is your body mass index. So this really uses your height and your weight to determine what is your healthy weight. Sometimes we look at our weight and our look based on something we saw on Instagram or Snapchat or something on some TV show, and that's not what should guide our behavior. So we want to really begin to look at what is it specifically that is the ideal weight based on my height and age and so forth. So this is another important area. All right. Now, keep this in mind. When we look at self-ignorance and overcoming it, we want to look at family history, we want to look at annual checkups or any checkup that might be needed because I can tell something is wrong. If there was a period of time I was feeling that something was wrong. I just wasn't feeling good. I wasn't feeling healthy. So I went to get a checkup and I found out some things that I needed to adjust. So you got to listen to your body. Your body has vocal cords. If you listen to it, it talks to you about how it makes you feel. So when you listen to your body, this is another way to remove self-ignorance. Go and find out what your body's trying to say. All right. So let's go a little bit deeper here. Now, I mentioned fear. Fear is an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is likely to cause pain or is a threat to you. This is what, and sometimes that fear can be based on something real, but many times it's not. Many times it's our perception. And a lot of times when it comes to our health, we have a fear on both sides. We have a fear of finding out. We have a fear of not knowing. We have a fear of what might come. We have a fear of what might already be. But we have to deal with this because when we don't deal with fear, it keeps us bound. And a lot of times it's easier to stay comfortable and ignorant than it is to remove fear and be intelligent. And so we have to begin to deal with fear. And the reason I'm bringing these things up, because when we talk about health, a lot of times this isn't about food. This isn't about eating. This is not about working out. It's about you and me. It's about how we think. It's about how we deal with our background. It's about our emotions. It's about how we feel about ourselves. It's about the things that get in our way. It's about doubt. It's about work that we don't want to do or we do want to do. At the end of the day, no one can make you do anything. You are in control. And that's why we talk about being the seal of our life. And this is the same thing as it relates to our health. So we go deeper into fear. Sometimes we think about going to the doctor, we feel like this little girl. It's like, oh my God, you just want to cry. You think about needles, you think about all the things that can go wrong, but we have to get past those fears and that emotion and begin to think about what do I need to do to be healthy? And if this is what I have to do to take care of myself, then I have to overcome that emotion. This is very, very important. All right. Then there's things sometimes we just don't want to hear, right? So sometimes no news is good news, right? Until you get some news and then you find out you wish you knew ahead of time. So it is better to not clog your ears and be willing to hear what you need to hear. And that could be regarding any element of your health. Things that are truth about how you eat. Truth about your hereditary or what runs in your family. Truth about what you're learning from, going and getting those checkups. And when you understand that, then you can actually do better. All right. So I want to go to another area, which is insecurity. So insecurity, this is, again, uncertainty or anxiety about ourselves. Lack of confidence. So being insecure about something with regard to ourselves. And did you know a lot of times there's many insecurities that lead to eating? There's many insecurities that lead to food. There's a lot of people that are having problems and they think it's with the food, but it's really with something inside. And this is what we're talking about. So when we talk about insecurity, we're really talking about self-value. So let me read this to you on the slide here. When we talk about self-value, we're many times our health is a reflection. Let me put this up on the slide so you can see this. Many times our health is a reflection of how we feel about ourselves. So we think it's just health, like it just happened to us, but sometimes we go deeper. We'll find out that there's something going on. And we have to be willing to explore that and understand that and think deeper than the fad diet and think about what's going on in my life. Because when I understand that, I'll be closer to the real solution because I'm dealing with what really holds me back. So when you think about this with self-value, we get to this word self-worth. Having a sense of worth about ourselves. That's why we need to go to the doctor. That's why we have to consider how we eat. That's why we have to take a hard stance to go back and find out what runs in our family, because we are worth it. When we understand that, when we really believe that, that's the day that you'll start to take care of yourself. You can take as many diets as you want, but if it's still not about taking care of yourself, if it's only to look good, if it's only to meet some American standard of beauty, if it's only to do what everyone else is doing, if it's only to meet some temporary moment of pleasure or of getting the attention of others, it won't last. But when the day you wake up and say, I care about who I am, I matter to myself, then you'll do these things for the right reason, for the right place, from the right place, and it'll be sustainable. This is what we're talking about. So because I'm worth it, that's the reason. Because I'm worth it, that's why I can take care of my health. And this is one day, you know, we all have to get to that point where we say, I'm worth it, and I'm going to do something about it. All right. So last but not least, when you care about yourself, you'll work with people who care about you. Find the right doctor, find the right nurse, go to the right hospital. Now, I know sometimes that's dictated by your insurance and what you can have and cover, but if you work hard, you can find someone out there, whatever status you're in, that cares about your health. And that's the type of person you want to work with. All right, last but not least is mediocrity, uncertainty or anxiety about oneself, lack of confidence, not being able to push ourselves beyond the limit, and so exceeding the expectation of the normal journey of sickness and disease. So being excellent has to do with exceeding an expectation. So what's expected of all of us is to follow the pattern of American culture, to go ahead, eat what everyone else is eating, get sick, or depend on the hospitals to try to bring us back, and money's being made on us all the way through. Being excellent is to say, I'm not going to do what's expected. I'm going to exceed the expectation by doing what is best for me. And this is, again, what you see here. Somebody got to step out from the crowd and say, look, I'm not following this. Is anyone seeing this where everyone is headed toward disease, headed toward a different particular health problem? Someone got to step out from the line and say, I want to be different. And then, last but not least, as you see on this image, there's a lot of flowers out there, but that red flower that you see that is different than everyone else, sometimes you got to be willing to do something different so you can be different and get a different result for you and for your family. This is what we're talking about. This is what we mean by being the CEO of your health. All right, I'm going to now go to a quick video, and we're going to look at a quick video on how food directly impacts how you fight cancer. And when I come back, I'm going to have a guest, and we're going to go deeper into understanding how we take care of ourselves. We'll be right back.
It's a growing health concern that studies show is more than just a weight problem.
The biggest risk factor truly for cancer is obesity.
Oncology Education Coordinator Valerie Buttram says the risk for obesity increases as we age. Obesity is dependent on a person's lifestyle, genetics, and physical activity. An unhealthy lifestyle can put you at risk for developing certain cancers.
For women, you are really predisposed to any of the GYN cancers, colon cancer, breast cancer, pancreatic, abdominal. For men, could be testicular cancer, could be prostate cancer for sure, colon cancer.
But what you eat can help lower your risk.
There is research that shows us that the more processed foods that we eat, the more that we want, but we're never satisfied. So we tend to eat more and more and more of those, which leads very naturally into obesity.
Keep your diet focused on fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. The fewer ingredients, the better.
The less red meat that we eat, the less we have risk for colon cancers. As far as the sugars and the processed foods and the saturated fats that we usually find in processed foods, we don't really get much nutritional value out of them.
Limiting your alcohol, sugars, and processed foods can also help to lower your risk for cancer, all to help you live a long and healthy life. For Lee Health, I'm Lindsay Morton.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that video, and now we're back in studio, and I have Miss Elizabeth Mancuso. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's such a pleasure to have you on the show, and you've been a longtime friend. You and my wife did things in the health industry a long time ago. Now you're a registered nurse, and I am so excited to have you on this show as someone that's in the field, and we've been talking about taking care of ourselves, but tell me a little bit about how did you even get into the health industry at all? Why did you even care about health?
Well, initially I was a business major and I was focused on doing that and finances. And then I started thinking a little bit more about health because my grandmother was really into health and she cared about like herbs and things like that. And so I made a transition into becoming a nurse in 2011.
Oh, okay.
Because I was changing roles. I had a young child and I needed a career that would work around my schedule and still allow me to be able to take care of my health. And my dad, I lost my dad in 2004, and it was really difficult because they didn't really know what was going on with them, and I always felt like I could have done more to help him, and so that was a huge passion for me to care more about the heart, and so.
So the loss of your dad, and you know, it's a real touching story. I mean, related to his heart, it seemed like that you know, end up impacting his life. Did that make you think more about the heart and, you know, want to know how the body works? Did that kind of fuel that a little bit for you?
It did, because he died of congestive heart failure, and so it kind of made me wonder, what is it that I can do to help people in my family? What can I do differently so that I don't have that same thing happen to me? And then it, you know, it made me a little guilty that I didn't do it sooner because I could have helped my dad. But looking back now, I know that it's something that would have just happened because he was a little too far in the process, the disease process. So.
Right. Right. Now, I really love what you're saying, because I mean, I love that you're here with all your gear on. Like, this is the real deal here. And you know, it's, even though it's a job that you're doing, it's personal too, because I mean, you have real life stories. I mean, that's real, and you're talking about a father. So when you think about that kind of opening your mind, but tell me about, was there ever a moment in your life where it got even more personal with you individually, with your health, where you felt like, you know what, I myself need to be more concerned about health, even though you're in the field? Did it ever get personal?
It did, and it actually was more personal. It was about 2016. I was doing my routine physicals, just as I normally have, and then there were times where I've tried a diet here and there, but I realized at that time when I got a checkup that my cholesterol was elevated. And so I realized, you know what? Everyone has to have a diet that's specific for them. It has to be a specific tailored diet for you and your metabolism. And so my cholesterol was elevated, and I said, you know, what am I going to do about this? I didn't want to go and talk to my doctor because I knew what he was going to say. Being in the field, I knew he was going to say, you need to go on a statin. And I didn't want to do that.
Now, is that a medication?
That is a high cholesterol medication, and it reverses high cholesterol.
Okay.
So I said, I don't want to do that. And so I just made changes for a whole year. I cut out saturated fat, I stopped eating meat, and I would eat a little bit of fish every now and then. And I went back to my appointment about a year later, and he realized the results and said, oh, we have to put you on a statin. I said, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to retest, and then we'll see what my lab values are. So we retested, and my lab values went from 300 total cholesterol to 200.
Wow.
And he was really surprised, and I said, I did it all on my own. We don't have to make any modifications, and so I'm still able to maintain that.
Wow, well, you're just the CEO of your health, aren't you? But that was really good, because you basically told them, no, I'm not going to take the medication that I know you're going to try to give me, and I'm going to make the changes necessary. And to all you listening out there, this is what we mean by being the CEO of your health. And I think it's important too that even though when I was talking earlier about eating clean, and there's certain fundamentals you can, you know, follow, but there's also the adjustment for your personal situation. So you did some specific things that someone doesn't have to exactly do like that, but you went more towards, you know, maybe fish and certain things, because that was helping you with the cholesterol issue. So would you say that's important too, to kind of customize for your situation?
Definitely. I think it would be important because there's a lot of people that are diabetics, and I wouldn't say, you know, eat this specific diet, because they have to watch their sugars and make sure it doesn't go too low. And so I think it would be prudent to make sure you're under a physician's care and make sure, because they'll be aware of all your medical conditions.
Right.
And so, and a good story I have is there was a patient I had, she wanted to do some random liver cleanse. And so I talked to her about it, and I said, you know, why don't we just run your liver function tests first and see what those are like. And we ran them, and she had major issues, and she had to have surgery. So that's something that I think people should really know where they live before they try and do things like that, because you don't really know where you're at until you actually get checked.
I really like that, know where you live. I like that, you know, and again, we talked about self-ignorance versus self-awareness, and so that person with their liver, for example, they could have done some fad that they heard about and actually hurt themselves, made their health worse. So I think that's so important. But again, you can only do that if you take the time to find out.
You have to find out. And you're right, because she already had liver injury, and it would have gotten worse because she would have done more damage by, I don't know what the cleanse involved. I didn't ask her. It was just some random place that wasn't even monitored by medical. And so she would have done that, and then it would have been worse, and she probably would have had to be admitted or come, you know, some sort of emergency.
Right. Well, let's talk about this. I mean, that's an excellent story. I appreciate you sharing that. And so when you think about, you know, why people maybe don't take the extra step and go find out what they need to know, you know, short of some other limitation, you know, but if they're able to do it, what would you say to people out there that are hesitant to get the information? Now, I see you got your, I don't want to say this stuff wrong, but that's a stethoscope.
Stethoscope.
And we got this is a blood pressure
machine,
okay,
a cuff.
Yeah, and she tried this out on me already. I was going to do this again. I don't know if I will. It was my blood pressure was good. It was
within normal limits.
It was within normal limits. Yeah. Thank you. But so what do you say to people who sometimes struggle? They just don't want to deal with hospitals and doctors and information about it. What do you say to them who are in that struggle?
Well, I think it's important to be honest, and I can't impress enough upon anyone to say, just go get checked. It's a simple blood test. It's a simple, you know, blood pressure reading. It's a simple listening to your heart, listening to your lungs, and just even like palpating the body in different areas to make sure there's no abnormalities or anything like that. It's simple, and when you don't do it, then you don't know what could be coming up ahead. And if you let it go too long, so for example, with cancer, it's important to look at your skin, right? And look for any rashes or some sort of something that's spreading. If you catch it early and you say, hey, I have this little rash, I've noticed it's gotten a little bit bigger. Right. That's something that you can catch. But if you let it go and then it's this big, then you have stage 4. Right. So it's very important to just start doing things early. And it's a little funny story. There was a lady that had high triglycerides, and I said, hey, you know, why don't we try and modify your lifestyle? Let's change your diet. Let's do this. And she said, oh, I'm not giving up my stuff. I don't. And I said, so are you saying you want to take a pill? And she said, yeah, just give me the pill. And I said, well, you know it's going to take time, and you might still have to. She said, I don't care. I don't want to change my lifestyle. So that's the other extreme. And even by not, at least she came in, but she was still resistant to what I recommended for her.
And that goes back to the fear, right? Because she was afraid. She was afraid of the change. And
she wasn't willing to change.
Right. That is really, really a good story, because I think a lot of people out there feel that way when they're confronted with truth, right? So first, I got to be willing to go get the truth. And then secondly, once I get it, am I willing to actually do something about it? So I just want to thank you for coming on the show and sharing, and maybe at other times we can have you back, because I think you've got real story, real experience, and everything that you're saying resonates. And so I really hope you all enjoyed this. And now I do want to say that I want to keep improving on my blood pressure and getting it's about time for me to go get a real physical or something. But Elizabeth Mancuso here, I hope you enjoyed what she mentioned, and I want you all to take to heart what was said, because if you know more, you can do more. And so again, get the truth, and then don't be afraid of what you hear and what you see, so you can be the person that you want to be. So now I want to take you to just a short video, kind of relates to what Elizabeth was sharing with us here. And this is from Dr. Mark Hyman, breaking down, you know, all these popular diet myths and how we can get lost here in America. And after we hear this video, I'll be right back with another guest. So you stay right there and enjoy the video.
It's so true. Food is not just calories. We all believe that we should eat less and exercise more to lose weight, but we now know that food is information, that it's instructions that literally changes your gene expression, regulates your hormones, can affect your immune system and inflammation in your body, even affects your gut microbiome. So every bite of food you take is literally like instructions to control your operating system of your biology. And if you have quality and you focus on that, it's far more effective than focusing on quantity. It's not about how much we eat, it's about what we eat.
So your message is stay away from the processed foods. If you look at ingredients and there are 25 of them, which might not include the actual thing it says it is, stay away from that.
Twinkies are bad, John.
Stay away from sugar, right? So those are basically, if you eat real food, you're going to be in a pretty good place.
It's not that hard. I often teach at churches, and I say it's really easy. Just ask yourself, did God make this or did man make this? Did God make a Twinkie? No. Did God make an avocado? Yes. It's pretty simple. So most of the stuff we eat are food-like substances. They're highly processed, highly refined, which drive diabetes, obesity, heart disease, chronic disease. And we really should be eating food.
Yeah, would you say if God made it, keep it? What did you say?
God made it, eat it.
Eat it.
If man made it, leave it.
Though the Twinkie may be the culmination of God giving us
there's
reason.
37 ingredients in Twinkies. Only one of them is food, which is banana puree at the very bottom of the list.
So is there conclusive proof, now we talked about this new research, about sugar and sugar being so detrimental to you?
Yeah, I mean, there's
much more than salt.
Overwhelming evidence that sugar is the biggest driver of obesity, type 2 diabetes, cancer, heart disease, even dementia. They're calling it type 3 diabetes. And it's not fat, it turns out. And that's why we got the whole story wrong. We were told to eat 6 to 11 servings of bread, rice, cereal, and pasta a day by the government in the food pyramid. It should be called the food tombstone.
You even say milk does not do a body good.
Yeah, we've been told by the government to eat 3 glasses of milk a day. Kids should have 2. And the truth is, there's very little evidence to support that. And the new guidelines actually were assessed by the National Academy of Sciences and said there's very little evidence for some of these things that are recommended, and it's highly industry influenced.
When people hear you say told by the government, they're going to think, well, how could they have gotten it so wrong? What are you alleging?
Well, the National Academy of Sciences just reviewed the entire process, and they found that the government has actually, in the committee, has ignored a lot of important data, for example, on saturated fat, on low-carb diets, on meat, and they've basically just assumed that these are bad. And they've also not actually represented the science fully, and they haven't completed full reviews. And so, and they're also industry influenced. For example, the Dairy Council funds some of the committee members in their work. So there's a conflict of interest issue that was brought up by the National Academy of Sciences.
Hello everyone, I hope you enjoyed that video. That video was very, very informational. And now I have my wife, Maya Parker here, and this is a surprise to have her on the show. And honey, it's good to see you. Can I shake your hand on air? All right. So many of you may not know, but my wife actually is a health science major. And I remember when, you were going through health science and taking the classes and doing all of that. But can you share a little bit about how you even got interested in health early on? Because I definitely wasn't, I was in business and all that, but how did you get interested in health?
Oh. Well, first I want to it's a privilege to be on the show.
Thank you. This might be comical, everyone.
No. Everybody works so hard around here every week, and I just want to thank everyone for all their efforts. It's pretty nerve-wracking, but you all are doing great. Thank you. So anyway, my health journey, so it started a long time ago, actually. I grew up the fat kid, so all throughout my formative years, I was a fat kid. Oh. And so my mother, and this is during like the 80s, so she was really into Jane Fonda, working out.
Yeah, that's the 80s. That's the 80s.
Yes. And we were she pretty much put us on every single fad diet there is. I mean, we had no meat. She's gonna kill me if she sees this show, but
just
was
good. Just look at me. Don't look out there.
Okay.
Just look at me.
Okay.
Yeah, just look at me, because that way she won't know.
Okay.
She won't know. So she had all these different fad diets. Okay.
Oh, and that I partook in. So it actually made me more aware. So just of weight, working out, it just made me more cautious. So it was always something that was there as I grew up. And so some of it actually was really good, and that was one thing I did think about as I got older, especially today when you see younger kids, and a lot of them are obese actually.
Right.
And it starts at a young age.
Right. Do you feel she was doing that because you were struggling with some weight issues younger? So she was like,
let me
I got to get something going?
She was helping herself, but helping the family as well.
Right.
So it did, you know, bring an awareness there. But I like what the story that Elizabeth just shared, because you know, there's certain people, if you've been eating a certain way for 20, 30, you know, or plus years,
right,
and then you're told you cannot anymore,
right,
that's pretty severe.
Right.
You know, it's a part of who you are.
Right.
So when you start at a younger age, you know, at least with, you know, understanding what's good and what's not good, you know, and having more of a balance,
right, right,
you know, it can change your thinking.
So let's talk about that. Let's just jump into it. So you having all these experiences with different fad diets and going through the, you know, it makes you learn a lot about many different things. And so what do you say to all the fad diets out there, everything you can see online, everything that everyone's an expert? How do you feel about just where we are right now and the struggle of figuring out what in the world to do? And I actually want to show something here. So this is on the screen here. You know, there's keto, paleo, vegetarian, vegan, Mediterranean, raw, low carb, no sugar, and this is just some, right? Yeah. But what do you say to just all that's out there about different approaches to health?
Yeah, no, and this has been going on for decades. And so, in this age, you know, of technology, you know, there's information that's just at your fingertips. And like you said, everybody.
Good and bad.
Good and bad.
Right.
And, you know, everybody is an expert, pretty much. You can be an expert, you know, if you just, you know, read a lot of articles, but, you know, who's right and, you know, who's wrong. So, but I think everything goes back to the basics. You know, that's been proven. We all need proteins, fats, and carbs. So, you know, sugar, that's something that we always talk about, you know, and we know everything surrounding that. That's the one thing that your body actually does not need. You know, you get that from the carbs as it breaks down. But there's so many extremes that, you know, anything that is not going to be long lasting, that you can't see for the duration of your lifetime maintaining, you know, and it's so excessive or extreme, something's wrong with that. So it needs to be a lifestyle, you know, and then everybody is different, right? So, you know, if somebody has heart problems, well, they probably wouldn't be good on a keto diet. You know, they might have a heart attack with all of that fat. You know, or if somebody, you know, they're trying to work with their sugar and you're like, okay, well, you can have fruit. Well, they can't just eat, you know, grapes all the time. That's a lot of sugar.
Now, don't be talking about grapes now. That's brought me through.
You're in a different
You know, grapes is the savior right now. But go ahead. No.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like, it's not the same for everyone. So, and then there's the mental, you know, part of it that I don't think a lot of people understand, is that if you're so used to not resisting certain things that are not good for you, it has to make, it's like you have to be more disciplined to deny yourself.
Now let's talk about that a little bit, because I know we only have so much time and it's such an important subject, but there's an emotional element to this whole thing, right? How my emotional connection to food and, you know, and being able to discipline myself. No one wants to even hear that word sometimes. So what do you say about just the emotional side of this? Because this isn't just like a light switch you turn on. This is not easy. And I know you know that well, but what do you say to people out there that struggle, you know, with not understanding that maybe there's an emotional issue they're dealing with that's even above the food?
And so everything they feel, whether it's happy, you know, sad, you know, depressed, excited, angry, you know, they turn towards food to, you know, help fuel that emotion. Culturally, it's very, you know, deep-rooted, ingrained. I mean, food showed love too. So, you know, that's something that was, you know, celebratory. That's something that gave, you know, appreciation or thankfulness or all those levels. So to detach, you know, that mindset, you know, is very real. So, but first you have to be aware. So that's the thing, is I really don't know if we're all aware, you know, and so when those triggers come up,
Right.
So, because again, it's not just about weight loss.
Right.
So much, you know, but we make it about weight loss.
Right.
That was one thing I did learn in school, is that health is a business. Unfortunately, it became a business in marketing. But
no, that's a very good point. And we, with a little bit of time we have left, I want to get you to say just something a little bit about this. And if we could put something on the screen here for a minute. So this is like a question of portion size, which plate has the most, and actually all these plates have the same, but the plates are different, so it's kind of an illusion. But really what's going on in America is portion size look like this. And so when you think about America and just what's going on in this country, what do you say about this? Because this is also an issue. So there's the emotion, all the stuff we've talked about, but tell me a little bit about how the business side is driving some of the health problems. I know we only got about 90 seconds here, but
tell you.
Yeah, but tell me a little bit about how you feel about this side of it.
That's the whole point. So it's that marketing that's behind, you know, all of, you know, these types of foods to sell the brand, you know, to sell that, you know, that food item, you know, whatever restaurant, whatever they're trying to sell.
Right.
And then in our culture, we're excessive. So with the portion sizes, you know, like, so if we go to like a real fancy restaurant, the first thing that you're gonna say is that this is not enough food.
Right.
But really, it's the correct portion size. So even, you know, mentally we're taught like that plate needs to be full.
Right.
You know, and that can even be from certain cultures too.
Right.
Like you needed to complete your whole full plate.
Right.
You know, before, you know, because there's people starving. But what are those portion sizes? What are those, you know, what are they based on?
Right.
You know, do we understand, you know, what's the correct portion size for meats or vegetables or carbs or whatever it may be.
Right.
You know, because all of that is adding excess fat, which is the point. It's not, it's the fat. So you can be thin but fat, you know, because
on the inside.
Exactly. So, you know, not as much muscle mass.
Right.
So it's really the excess fat, you know, which, you know, could cause. Now we're getting into obesity and all different types of diseases.
Right, right.
You know, so it's really in excess how we consume different items. And even those, quote unquote, that might be better, you know, if you're doing that in excess, which is just what we think is better, then you can, you know, it's overkill.
Right. Absolutely. That was outstanding. I mean, this is a wonderful pleasure to have you on the show and to share, because I know I wanted to bring you on the show because I know you're passionate about this.
There's so much more.
And there's so much more. I know there's so much more. Maybe we can get you back. Maybe we can get her back on some future shows, but honey, it's good to have you on the show. It really is. And to kind of have a fireside chat live, because I think some of the chats that we have are good for everyone to hear, because they're so informative, and I think we're always learning from each other and pulling from each other, and that's what you have to do. Build good relationships at home, in the family, or in your friend circle, because if you want to make a lifestyle change, you got to let it get in your circle and talk about these matters even at home. Isn't that right, honey?
We need to talk about it.
Yes, we've got to keep talking. Absolutely. So I hope you enjoyed this segment, and I wanted to now, I know this show might be just a little bit later, but I want you all to really take what you're getting tonight. This is so important. There's so much there. But I want you to watch, there's a video I want you to watch about why we can't stop eating unhealthy foods. And this is a very, very powerful TED Talk that I want you to take the time and sit and listen to this. And when we get back, we'll be closing out the show and telling you more about when our next show will be. But again, I want to thank you again for being on the show.
Thank you for having me, everyone.
It's been a pleasure. So watch this show. Do not miss this. This is a very powerful clip that I want you to see. Why we can't stop eating unhealthy food. Let's get the truth about it. We'll be right back.
At no time in human history has our species been so bombarded by stuff designed to get us hooked. Companies compete on the very basis of creating ever more habit-forming products. And it's no different with our food. Food corporations hire scientists to engineer the most irresistible habit-forming foods. Sugar is currently their go-to ingredient. These guys have flipped the script on us. They are using the very brain imaging technologies that we use to try to find cures for addiction. Only they put people in the MRI machine and feed them Dorito chips to figure out ways to tweak the recipe to make it even more habit-forming than it already is. So here's my question to you. When you live in a world that is surrounding you on a 24/7 basis with food products scientifically engineered to be habit-forming, do you really have freedom of choice? Now, most addictive substances are actually quite safe in their natural form. Heroin comes from poppy seeds, cocaine from the coca plant, alcohol from fruits and grains. For centuries, farmers high up in the Andes Mountains have chewed coca leaves. It's a tradition. It's a mild stimulant, like drinking a cup of coffee. It helps them work longer hours and cope with the high altitudes. Probably the worst thing that can happen to you after a lifetime of chewing coca leaves is maybe you'll get bad teeth. Things do get really bad when we industrialize the coca production process. When we learned how to refine the coca plant down into its most concentrated form, a little rock of white powder. That's when the humble coca leaf becomes the lethally addictive drug we know as crack. Now, what's interesting is that up until the 20th century, cocaine was actually an innocent, domesticated white powder, just like sugar is today. People put it in everything. You could go to your drugstore and buy it in a soothing tonic. People put it in cough syrup and gave it to their kids. Coca-Cola is one of the most successful products in modern history. It was formulated in the 1880s, and the company's founders were so proud of their special recipe that they vowed never to change it. But at one time in history, the Coca-Cola Corporation was forced to change its recipe. And that was in 1903, when the political current, the tide was shifting away from cocaine, eventually to make it an illegal drug. That's when Coca-Cola took the cocaine out of the Coke. Of course, they just replaced it with a different addictive substance, namely caffeine. So here you have it. A concentrated dose of sugar combined with a concentrated dose of caffeine. Double the pleasure, double the chances we'll get hooked. The fact is, as long as food corporations aren't breaking narcotics laws, they can do pretty much whatever they want to formulate their products to make them even more habit-forming. My work takes me into San Francisco's Tenderloin district. Every big city has a place like this, right? It's a few square blocks of extreme poverty and urban blight. There's a liquor store on every corner, usually with a bunch of drug dealers hanging out in front. We have a name for places like this. We call them alcohol and drug-saturated environments. Now, the Tenderloin has a program called Safe Passage. Volunteers go to the school bus and pick up children to safely walk them to their homes. They have to travel circuitous routes through the city streets to avoid all the drug dealers and liquor stores. It's like living in an obstacle course. When it comes to food, to processed food and sugar, we're all living in an obstacle course. Our own Tenderloin. It's on every corner, in every store, in every workplace. 74% of the foods in your grocery store have sugar added to them, stuff that doesn't even taste sweet. So, why do I care about this so much? It's actually not the rising rates of obesity worldwide that keeps me up at night. it's two other very disturbing trends. And the first is the appearance of adult diseases in children. Type 2 diabetes is linked to heavy sugar consumption and especially sugary drinks. It's called adult onset diabetes because in my parents' generation, we only saw it in adults. Today, 1 out of 4 American teenagers is pre-diabetic or diabetic. Next is the appearance of whole new diseases that seem to come out of nowhere. The diagnosis non-alcoholic fatty liver disease didn't even exist until 1980. Again, a condition linked to heavy sugar consumption and poor diet. By 2020, in 5 years, it's going to be the leading cause of liver transplantation. This is the global warming of human health. These trends are warning signs like melting icebergs and rising sea levels. They're telling us that there's something very wrong with our food environment. Our food supply is making some of us very sick. Here's the good news. There is some good news. The solutions to this situation are easily within our reach. Now, everybody always says, educate the public in healthy choices, but we know that doesn't work. If it worked, then why would 48% of Americans still be drinking a sugary drink or more a day? The fact is, I could say until I'm blue in the face, don't drink that stuff, it's unhealthy. You already know that. But when you live in a sugar-saturated environment, more often than not, you'll probably just reach for what's been put in front of you. And if it's a concentrated source of pleasure, a product carefully engineered with white powders to get you hooked, that puts a huge burden on you all the time to say no. And many of us don't. So what do we do about this problem? How do we fix it? The solutions are actually remarkably simple, and here's how it works. Food companies have gotten very good at seducing us towards their products in ways that we barely even notice. All of the most effective public health strategies just do the opposite. They gently nudge us away from the unhealthy stuff. It's simple. We just flip the script back. So, for example, soda companies, they intentionally keep their prices down so that we'll buy more. If we put a tax on the soda, that raises the price a little and gently nudges us away. If food corporations are barraging our children with advertisements for Captain Crunch and Cocoa Puffs, we can just take those ads off the air. If they pay grocery stores to put candy at eye level for our little children, we can put it a little higher on the shelf. And if they pay famous sports figures to promote Gatorade, we can pay them to say, I drink water. Small changes can add up to big shifts in the environment. We know this from decades of research on addictive substances. I understand we really would all like to believe that we're in charge, that we have complete freedom over what we eat. But how free can we be living in a saturated environment, one that continuously surrounds us with food products carefully engineered to get us hooked and keep us coming back for more? Those kids in the Tenderloin, they apparently live in what's called a food desert. They don't even have access to a grocery store. But really, what's a grocery store when it's stuffed with junk food? 74% of it loaded with added sugar. All the health experts will tell you, shop around the perimeter of the grocery store. That way you can steer your way around all the junk that's in the middle. But how different is that from a strategy that steers children around drug dealers in the Tenderloin? We can do so much better than this. We don't have to live in an environment that is rigged to get us fat and then blames us for the health consequences and the medical bills. We don't have to sit by and watch our children suffer from diseases of adulthood. We can re-rig this environment to make it safe. It's not about personal choice anymore. It's about our public choice. Thank you.
Welcome back. That was just an outstanding show. We did not disappoint.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, thank you all for watching and participating. That segment that we just had,
I mean,
very serious.
It was very serious, but I was really eye-opening at the same time.
Yeah.
I really liked her approach. She kind of talked about some facts about, like what she said there about how marketing in different communities, how, you know, some things that society tells us not, how we might want to not eat, but society, it makes it hard for us.
Yeah.
She mentioned she mentioned about how different companies place their food in the grocery stores, and they could purposely keep the prices low. You know, so just different. And I think she also mentioned too, depending upon where you live, what you're exposed to, and what's available to you.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting how she said it's like an obstacle course.
Yeah.
Everywhere you drive, and that's how it is in some of the inner cities where there's neighborhoods where there's drugs that are saturated. You have to stay away from certain locations, certain neighborhoods, and certain buildings. But it's just like that when you're going to, you know, certain stores and certain, you know, fast food places. Everywhere you go, it's like almost like a grenade. Like it's really enlightening to see the disease part that she talked about.
I was going to say that too. Yeah, when she talked about the type 2 diabetes in the children, and how that wasn't so before. You know, these things that are showing up now. I think Elizabeth in the segment that she had with Michael, she was talking about one of her clients that wanted to do this liver kind of detox, and so these are some new things that are out there that the show kind of talked about. Depending on how, you know, if we eat clean, I think Michael talked about that's clean. You know, went into the fish that are clean and different fruits and vegetables and things that way. And I liked. There was a previous commercial where, let me see, I think I wrote it down. The gentleman said, "If man made it, leave it. If God made it, eat it." I thought that was really good. Yeah, I really like that. Because
and a lot of things are common sense too. Like it's like if it's in a package, if it's in a bag, if it's in a can, chances are it has preservatives and things that are unnatural that's keeping those things fresh or keeping those things from spoiling. Right. But we want to eat things that are more fresh.
Yes, and
from
natural.
the earth.
Right.
And natural.
Natural sweeteners. I think that. I think Maya and Michael, when they had that segment, they were Maya was talking about just fats that aren't good for you. And so there are some ways she described about you can have some good fat, but when you have too much, I think she talked about an excess. So when things are in excess and they're in our organs, and then we don't want to know and go to the doctor, and we have those fears about finding out the information. And I think Elizabeth mentioned too, just go to make an appointment, make a checkup. You know, make yourself an appointment because it was really key. If your health, let me see. Is it your true wealth is your health?
Is your health,
okay. All right, I want to make sure I get that right. But you get a checkup. And so you want to make sure that you have the information, because if you don't know something, I think Elizabeth mentioned, she gave an example about cancer. You have a rash.
Just those earmarks.
Some of those things, and it can start off small, but if you don't go and get a checkup, then it escalates.
And it's like, I like the segment that talked about, that video that talked about the children, because whatever you have in your household is going to affect your children, or even just those that you love, even if you don't have children. And I think she said 1 in 4 like kids are like diabetic or pre-diabetic. That's alarming. And I love that you are a CEO. We're trying to at least, I think Michael E. Parker said, when you know more, you can do more. And it's not like this doom and gloom story. It's really light like enlightening yourself and really taking those steps towards improvement. And I like what Ms. Maya Parker said, actually making lifestyle changes that if it's something that you feel like you can do for the rest of your life, take that step. Yeah. Make that small increment versus these, crash diets where it's like, I can do it for 3 weeks. After that, I'm going back to normal.
Yes.
And that's not really sustainable. So I really like just the basic simplicity of these things.
Yeah, because it's not about weight loss.
Yeah,
it's about your health. That was really good, right? About your health. And I think in the segment that at the beginning, Michael mentioned those key areas, hereditary. So I don't know how much time we have, but I'll share with you, Jacoby, when I first found out that I had high blood pressure, I think Elizabeth talked about it when she was having a conversation. But when I first found out that I had high blood pressure, I was actually stunned because I did know that it was hereditary, but I also knew that I thought that I had taken all the precautionary measures to avoid having it myself.
Sure, yeah.
So when I went to a doctor's appointment and the doctor said, "Has anyone ever told you you have high blood pressure?" And I said, "What do you mean?"
Yeah.
And so, anyways, to make a long story short, my levels were very, very high, and I did actually make a change. I kind of just cut everything out because I was so in shock that I thought I was going to be able to avoid it by changing my eating and exercising, and so to still have it, then I was kind of disappointed with that. But then I made some changes, and but I was just sharing that because hereditary, those things matter to find out what's in your family, because as Elizabeth mentioned, you can do something about it then, and so you don't have to be so afraid. I knew it was there, but I was going to try to as best I could to avoid it as long as I possibly could.
And I think that's one of the most important things is everyone that spoke tonight, you saw something about the personal side of it. It's not one size fits all.
Sure.
You have to know your health history.
That's right.
You have to know how things affect your emotions, how things affect the culture of your household. I think Maya talked about that, like, the celebration of food.
Yes.
But we can celebrate with healthy food now, right? But still keep that culture and making that a part of your family. So I got notes everywhere. I mean, I got 2 pages now.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about this.
My phone.
Everyone, we do thank you all for watching, because this has really been a very enriching show, and we took a little bit more time.
We did.
Because we've been waiting for this show, and this is a part 1. I'm going to show the key announcements, and if you want to speak to it.
So we have some key announcements that you be sure to follow us and join our movement.
Yes.
And for anyone that's new, this is your first show with us tonight. Thank you so much for taking time out. We really appreciate you joined us on a great show tonight. So be sure to join the movement at yourceo.com. And then what you also want to do is, if you're not a part of the CEO Success Club, we have a group on Facebook, CEO Success Club, and you want to join. That's where we kind of talk about, the community talks about all the things that we as CEOs in our life, career, and our business that we're doing to be the CEO of our lives. So with that being said, our next show is Health is True Wealth. That's going to be on February 25th, 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. So mark your calendars. Share this link for tonight's show, part 1. So anyone that you know and that you care about, be sure to share this with them and invite them to next week's show.
Yeah, part 2.
Part 2, because we're going to have it's going to be another power-packed hour of Your Health is Your True Wealth. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. Good night.